So hello fellow Earthlings. This is Earthling 6455463728. And I was a little bit in of a toss-up today between about what I might want to talk about. On the one hand, I'm doing a project that has been in the planning for at least a year. It's not that it took that long for any good reason. Well, actually, it is a good reason in that it's a weather-dependent project, so it had to wait until the weather was right. And given the pace that I do certain things, I missed an opportunity last year and I had to postpone it till this year. The other thing was, I saw The Hunt yesterday. I finished watching it, and I actually really enjoyed it. It was a mix between, so I guess I'm going to talk about The Hunt. It was a mix between, it was in no way Italian related, but it had the satisfaction, I'm sorry to say, of people dying, which is something that I enjoy, unfortunately. I mean, there's no Colosseum, like I've said before, and there are no public executions and hangings, and I am 100% glad that none of the people who appeared to die are dead, but I like seeing people get killed. I don't know how else to put it. But anyway, there was a lot of that, and surprise killings too. I mean, when I was a kid, I started reading a book about an individual, and you're going along in their life, and then the person gets killed, and they have to start over with someone new. Not the book, it's just that they were an early sacrifice in the book. And it's the same thing with this show, or this movie. You think that, this is the person that you're going to be with until the end of the movie, and then you realize that they aren't. And the person who you would not have thought you were going to be with, they are. And it's really nice, actually. It's really nice, the kind of person who is the protagonist. I like that. I like how they think in terms of it's not too deep. They're just like, okay, I am on the run and I have this set of skills that can help me to survive, and I'm just going to use them. What was very amusing was the trigger that this person had for determining whether or not they should kill someone. Within the first moments of meeting a particular person, they would decide, okay, this person's a threat, I need to kill them. And that was thoroughly enjoyable. I mean, crazy. It was wow. But wow. As it turns out, I guess it's a woman who is the protagonist, and in the end, the bad guy is another woman. And this was not a cat fight, This was the kind of thing that John Statham does. It's the kind of thing that, you look for in these movies. Good fighting, And there's one point in the movie that really was crazy, but it was indicative of how satisfying this movie was. The protagonist has an opportunity to make a run for it, and she's talking to someone who she hasn't killed yet, and she's trying to find the bad guy or the bad person in the movie, and the person's like, why don't you just try and get away, just run? And she's like, well, I've always been kinda, and she makes this face that she made earlier in the movie, which was like, a crazy person. And she's like, yeah, and as it is, I really work at a car rental, so there's not much room for And she makes his face again, that's a placeholder for crazy, in there. And it's like, so yeah, I want to go ahead and do some of that. That would really, it was satisfying. Oh my God, it was. I have to say, it was thoroughly enjoyable. I don't know who made the movie, but I loved it. I absolutely loved it. There was a point at the end of the movie that disappointed me, where you thought that things were going in a particular direction. And I was okay with the direction that they were going in. And then it makes a complete 180, and things went a complete different way. And I have to say, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed the direction that they went in. It was not predictable. They took certain, flourishes that made the movie even more enjoyable. It was just not like, it wasn't completely logical. But again, I still liked it. I still liked how it turned out. It's just that little thing, it was like, it was writer's convenience, where there's no good reason for it, but it happened. Or if you read manga, it was an Aspull. So, yeah, it was not exactly something that should have happened. But in the spirit of all things crazy, it was still enjoyable. And just a different person. And of course, it was a mix. It was a weird, enjoyable mix, because the protagonist has a fulsome bosom, let's say, and she's skinny as a rake, so I don't know if those are real or not. But her face is just plain. She's not like some kind of a model or something, and yet it was still so enjoyable. I mean, between her crazy antics, and there was some another point in the movie that was not really realistic. I mean, it's a movie, of course, but still, yeah, those parts kind of annoyed me. But between the blood and the explosions and the death and the odd comedy, etc., it was really enjoyable. I have to give it 2 thumbs up. Not in terms of, it's not a drama, it's not trying to teach you anything, but just in terms of, it's like an Adam Sandler movie, but with a little bit more highbrow, perhaps. And speaking of which, I'm kind of looking forward to more Adam Sandler movies. Uncut Gems. I mean, I don't know if you guys have seen it or not. The end was predictable and satisfying. I don't know what anybody else would have said, but I don't know how the character thought things would have happened in any other direction than they did. I think all of us may have seen it, but at the same time, just enjoyable, and like I said, I don't know who made The Hunt, but I look forward to, if there's ever any of those ads where they say brought to you by the people who brought you The Hunt, I want to see that. I'd want to at least give it a good look. I'm going to take a look at Onward. It's a cartoon, but it has good ratings. I'm sorry that it did poorly in the on box office. I think, I don't know, is this the first time that this has ever happened for a Pixar movie? I don't know, but I think Pixar always surprises me in terms of the direction that they're heading in. And based on the rating, I assume it's similar. I don't know why it would not have done that well. We're talking about movies, I suppose I can still mention Bad Boys. I like Bad Boys more than The Hunt. I liked Bad Boys more than The Hunt because I knew the characters. So I was satisfied with them. I don't know if I mentioned, yeah, I feel like I've spoken about Bad Boys before, but I am glad that Will Smith had a good movie. I don't know how they're going to twist it. They set it up for something to come after this. As a matter of fact, I was telling a friend of mine that Bad Boys, this third one, has a higher overall profit than the other two Bad Boys combined. And didn't really believe me until, I quoted this Bad Boy had at least something like 200 million of pure profit. I think the last Bad Boy may have had like maybe 40 million, and the one before that would have had something like, let me see, the first one, probably along the lines of, let's say, 100 million. So 100 million, let's say, in profit, plus about 40 million or 20 million in profit. And this one is a good 200 million of just sweet profit. I don't know if Will Smith or Martin got any of that in terms of gross percentages, but it's good. It is good. I think they took the right steps. I'm sorry if I'm repeating stuff from the last time I spoke about Bad Boys, but they took the right steps. They made the right sacrifice in terms of lives in order to impact you in terms of who got wounded. And if you haven't seen it, it's a good movie. I think they looked at what's important to people in terms of lives and injuries and sacrifice, etc., and they did what needed to be done. And I think other movies probably need to pay as much attention. Anyway, guys, I hope you don't mind that I spoke about movies this time. One thing that I will say is that I have, in terms of this project, I have these things that, I have in my calendar. It's a Google Calendar, and I have them come up, twice a week, once every 2 weeks, once every 6 months, something like that. Just things that I need to keep in my psyche, so that, like, for example, to always check and see if I have a particular item before I go and buy it online. I hate to be involved in any kind of waste of energy or resources, and having it's better for me to quote unquote waste time than to have 2 or 3 of something and throw one out. That seems really awful. But anyway, I'm glad that I'm working on this project. I hope that the end result is something that I can look back on years from now and be satisfied that even though it took me a long time to do it, I eventually went ahead and did it, and it's for the greater good, less worry for me in the future and for anybody else who is affected by what I'm doing. And maybe, if you don't do something like that now, maybe you might want to do it. As a result of doing it, it means that every day I have to go check my inbox and delete all these recurring reminders of things that I need to have in my psyche. Not necessarily things that I'm going to do right away, but they need to keep coming up. So I'm reminded, okay, you still have this thing to do, you still have that thing to do. And if I'm seeing it too often, then maybe I need to put it to once a month or once every 2 months or something like that. But it allows me to have goals that I will accomplish, even though I'm not doing anything about them right this minute. I probably will. And maybe the next one I do of these will be about what I'm really happy for having accomplished in my life. It's stuff that I would have mentioned before, not smoking anymore, losing weight, but maybe just something a little bit more rounded, something more complete. Anyway, wish me luck. So you can like, unlike, comment, subscribe, and or share.